20th meeting of the Student Life and Athletics Committee of the University of Rhode Island. As you know, the committee is holding a hybrid meeting today in accordance with Governor McKee's executive order. Some committee members are gathered in person, some are participating remotely. Public access is available via the phone or YouTube video. At this time, I'll conduct a roll call to determine if we have a quorum. Please respond present when your name is called. David Maratorano. Michael Fascitelli.
Present.
Robbie Luna.
Present.
Mike McNally.
Present.
Jay Placentia.
Present.
Christopher Bowe.
Present.
Margot Cook. Mark Palange.
Present.
Tom Ryan, present. Quorum is present. I'll call the meeting to order. Reminder to all members, please identify yourself if you want to make a motion or second the motion. The first item of business is acceptance of the agenda. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved, Placencia.
Robbie Luna, second.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, hearing no discussion, I'll ask for a vote, voice vote. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Perfect. Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the September meeting. Can I have a motion?
So moved, Michael Talley.
Second, Jay Placencia.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I ask for a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we're going to talk about, you said the agenda we have today. It's, as you know, this is the second meeting we had of this committee. We gave Thor, Director of Athletics, the majority of the time the first meeting. Kathy Collins gets the majority of time this meeting. So this is to bring the committee up to speed on what is it, student affairs? What is student affairs, and what does she have responsibility for? We're going to pick up pieces each of the meetings. So I'll turn it over to Kathy.
Thank you, and certainly it's wonderful to see everyone, and Happy New Year. I understand as we're all wearing face coverings and all, it's such a representation of what's happening right now at our institution and certainly higher education in other places around the country. I want to, before I begin my remarks today in regards to the Student Affairs Division at the University of Rhode Island, I want to thank Ms. Carol Pegg, my amazing executive assistant who's assisting with minutes for this meeting. I also want to give a special thank you to Pierre St. Germain, our Director of Dining, and Dave Bellato, without whom this presentation would not have been possible because he's just better at PowerPoint than I am. So today I look forward to giving you a deep dive, and I think someone has access to a PowerPoint.
On the screen.
Do you want to pull that up? Thank you so much. All these people who do technology, it's awesome.
Give them a shout out.
What's that?
Give them a shout out.
Yeah, thank you to our tech team, everyone who's here assisting with these meetings and our new normal.
A great picture.
Yeah.
That is great.
Isn't that beautiful? Today, we will discuss again the Division of Student Affairs. Our Division of Student Affairs at the University of Rhode Island is a comprehensive division of student affairs. It is home to 24 different units, approximately 500 full-time staff, 41 graduate students, and over 1,200 student employees. I say it's comprehensive in that we have things such as Greek life, student conduct, and other areas that you would typically find at many institutions in the Division of Student Affairs. In addition to that, we also have such units as the auxiliaries, which would be housing, dining, those that are self-supporting. Again, the auxiliaries receive no money from tuition and no money from state subsidy. In fact, the auxiliaries do contribute financially to many other areas of the university, including employee salaries and financial aid. And we'll dive more into that as we go through different areas.
Okay.
Today, I want to highlight 3 specific areas with you. That is an update on COVID, our mental health initiatives, and an overview of URI Dining. That is the first area we'll do our deep dive in. And I think all of you will be surprised in regards to just the scale of our dining operation. Some COVID updates that I want you to have, again, requiring all eligible faculty, staff, and students to provide proof that they are vaccinated and have the booster. All returning students, regardless of vaccination status, must do a point of origin test. We continue with our universal indoor mask mandate for all faculty, staff, students, and visitors. And again, quarantine and isolation space. We are using, again, one of the local hotels in addition to additional space on campus. We continue to provide testing for our community members, both rapid tests and, in addition to that, certainly PCR tests. Our health services team, our COVID task force at the institution, and certainly the new COVID advisory board being chaired by Provost Laura Bavay have done just remarkable. We are an institution that remains providing in-person education, and that is paramount to our student success and to our community as a whole. One of the things, though, we do recognize from COVID, and you were starting to hear approximately,
Chris has a question.
your question on COVID?
Just a really quick question.
Of course.
It's actually two short questions. The first one, we recently received an email about the quality of masks.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering, when students come back next week, if there will be a place on campus where we can secure high quality masks.
Yeah, great question. You have seen from the CDC and others in regards to quality of mask, and wow, masks have transformed throughout the entire pandemic. We will have the KN95 masks available for the university community throughout campus. Once those locations are established, we've ordered tens of thousands of them, and we will make sure that they're distributed in such places as the Memorial Union, the library, and other buildings.
Okay, great. And then my second question is about the testing, which I'm glad that URI is doing.
Yeah.
I know, so I took a test with Rido 10 days ago, and I still haven't gotten my results. So is there like a specific time frame? Because I know in the past, we've asked students to do 48 to 72 hours of a test, but right now results aren't coming in within that time frame. So like, how recent does the test have to be for students?
In the communication that went out to students, we requested within 72 hours.
Okay.
Because we do understand that testing is not always accessible to everyone.
Okay.
And testing is always available here on campus. So a person may want to return to our URI community to get tested, and that could be necessary, and we understand that.
Okay, so if like a student hasn't gotten their results in time, they can just get it at health services?
That is correct.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome. The ongoing COVID pandemic has led to a second pandemic, and that is mental health. This is something that we are seeing increasing demand for in terms of mental health services prior to the start of the pandemic. In fact, here at the University of Rhode Island, we've had on average 30% increase year end to year end with counseling demands. We as an institution need to work together collaboratively across the state with other institutions to address the mental health issue. And it's not always just our students, it's faculty and staff. This has been a long 2 years. People are tired. I think you hear the word sometimes languishing. You're also hearing about, the great resignation happening in many companies and organizations. Our focus certainly is on the mental health of our students and student affairs. We're following the national mental health trends and noticing certainly that we're right on track with other institutions and across the country in terms of our request for mental health services, whether that be telecounseling, which we do provide, group support, which we also provide, and certainly after-hour services. 2 new things this year that we'll be bringing forward this semester is Togetherall, which is a group chat. So you can do group counseling in a chat format. This is used by literally around the world in terms of this for the students to get assistance 24/7 from licensed practitioners and others that may be, engaged in this. We also 2 years ago, with the assistance of the Strategic Budget and Planning Council funding, brought Protocol to URI. Protocol out of Kalamazoo, Michigan, is an after-hours counseling service of licensed professionals who can provide service and get students immediately into our appointments. I will share with you, even with our best effort and our best, team on the ground in terms of counseling in other areas, we did reach a point in the fall where our students had a 5-week wait for counseling. We have to address that. That's not unique to us. In fact, you'd find that across many, many institutions.
How long a wait did you say?
5 weeks. We have to work on that. Through the leadership of President Parlange and Dean Labuti and others, we are working on what do our students come to our campus with and how do we assist them right off in terms of their ground. Our students are coming to college now. They've already been in counseling. In fact, parents now want to tour the counseling center as part of the campus tour. We've done a wonderful job across the country, really destigmatizing mental health. People talk about it more now, they post about it, everything. So we want to recognize that this is part of what we need to do as a community. But mental health is about the whole person. It's about your physical well-being, your psychological well-being, your diet. We'll talk a little bit about the role dining plays. So looking at the campus-wide approach, wellness classes, mental health first aid, and more, even meditation, our use of facilities and all. So we'll continue to explore the mental health, but I simply wanted today to do a brief overview so you know that it is on our radar and something we know we need to pay close attention to and work with our students to provide assistance.
Spend on mental health. What is, I mean, if you look at outsourcing it and psychologists and people that they can chat with, how much do you think we spend?
I would say all in, I don't want to give an exact number, Tom, because I don't have it memorized off the top of my head. I'd be happy to get it to you, but we certainly have a full service counseling center with license.
You get to see that. It's
Yep,
good, just,
you will.
You know, if in fact
I'll do that for the
that you
April.
learn of it, what does that mean?
Yeah, and does that go off of our health services fee, or
It-
do we pay a different auxiliary fee to the counseling center?
The counseling center is paid for on the general fund out of tuition dollars, where health services is paid for out of the health services fee. The health services does have our psychiatrists. In addition to that, we also have the psychological consulting center run by Dr. Lindsay Anderson that also provides support in athletics and other areas. Keep in mind, we are going to be moving forward in the design and build of the new integrated health and counseling center, further emphasizing our approach to this. And we got to bring these teams together in terms of their co-location. So I'll plan on the April meeting doing a deeper dive into that, same as I'll do today for dining. So today I do specifically want to talk to you about our dining operation. As I said earlier, I think you'll be surprised in terms of the magnitudes, the size, the scope of the services that our dining team does. We know that we feed URI. And you can see from the history, believe it or not, for those of you who did not know, the first dining hall on campus was 1935 in Lippett Hall. From that time, you can see throughout the decades our evolution into a more expansive and modernized dining facility. On average right now, we do 12,500 meals a day. That's a lot of food. And just to give you an idea, from this last semester alone, that was 10,560 pizzas, 56,000 pieces of sushi. And we, this past fall, introduced mobile ordering. And we had over 30,000 orders placed mobily. The student can place their order, same as you would at Panera or other places, and the food's ready for them to pick up when they get there.
Order it, pick it up at the dining hall?
They order it, pick up the dining hall, and can take it. Very popular is our fusion station that the chefs make for you right in our Hope dining area. Pizza is also pretty popular with mobile ordering. We have no trays. If you think back to when you were in college and others in terms of the trays, the food, and how you navigated the dining hall, now it's a food court. There's lots of options. You can come in all day. It's really all you care to eat once you're in the dining facilities, and there's a wide variety in terms of the food that is available. We also have satellite locations across campus, including the Brookside Bistro, in addition to our coffee shop in the library, and we have a coffee shop in the engineering building as well that are very popular. So as you know, our food operation, as I said, is pretty vast. So I want to show you a little bit now behind the numbers and what's all happening. We have 2 residential dining halls, that is Hope and Butterfield. Again, mobile ordering. We have a full nutrition program. I'll talk about what allergens we're seeing and food sensitivities and how we address those. We have 8 outlets for retail operations, convenience stores, pick up, go, coffee, you know, in terms of snacks, bagels, to cookie dough that you can eat raw. I mean, there's a little bit of everything that we offer. Again, the mobile ordering, and as many of you know and you've experienced yourselves, our food truck is pretty popular, Rhodey Eats, and we get that out when we can. We also do provide catering. We have an executive chef's team, a URI bake shop, and we have our TC, Tender Care URI program, where parents can order cakes and cookies and have them certainly delivered to their students on special celebrations. URI Dining oversees the campus ID card office. So this is where everyone, faculty, staff, and students get their IDs. Certainly with that, you have meal plans. We have the RAM account. I'll explain a little bit more about that. And then starting in spring 2022, through a reorganization effort, conference services will be reporting up through dining. You can see on the left-hand side of the pie chart that our revenue is broken out by 72.4% of dining's revenue does come from meal plan sales. All students who live on campus are required to have a meal plan. That is necessary. We know that that gives them access. And some of our meal plans are like 50 swipes. So it's not that many, and it's certainly not every day. We also have 24% of our revenue coming from catering. And again, 3.3% from the RAM account. And I'll explain a little bit more about certainly how that works. We know that creating a unique experience is important for our students. Dining is a part of recruitment, yield, and completion. They want to see the food, they want to know what the food is going to taste like, and they want to know that it's going to be good food. It may not be their home cooking that they're used to in those recipes, but they really want to know what that experience is going to be like. So we have students who they want to see the dining halls on the tours. We know that the dining experience is critically important. Students decide on a college and decide to leave a college if dining does not meet their expectations. And that is something we're very much aware of. So we offer good food, a variety. We have to seamlessly meet student needs and dietary needs as they're constantly changing in terms of vegan, halal, allergen-free, and working with our chefs to do that. And we know food, it's an experience. We do pancake night. President Parlange and Mary assisted us in serving. I think we did, I don't know how many 1,000 pancakes in 2 hours. And it's certainly a wonderful event. We do holiday meals and other things that people really want and love from dining. So anticipate Tom's question in regards to what's the budget like. You can see that our financial resources for dining, we have a total revenue of over $28 million. That comes from 6,563 meal plans. In addition to that, you can see, obviously, that breaks down meal plan revenue, total catering revenue, and then our average weekly retail revenue. This is cash that we're making at the Ramsden. This is cash that's coming into the Starbucks locations. So we make about $344,000. Our expenses, food costs. You've experienced this in your own home, the cost of protein, the cost of milk, and other things. We spend about $9 million annually on food, and we try to maintain an average that's 28% of our budget in terms of food costs. We are experiencing significant supply chain issues. If you can believe it or not, in the fall, there was a week where we ran out of orange juice. We use Coca-Cola as our provider. Coca-Cola owns Minute Maid, and there was nothing they could do to help us. So we are very clever. Our chefs are very clever in terms of what we're preparing, when we're preparing it. But again, supply chain issues have certainly impacted all of us.
So the 28 million revenue, 24 from the planning.
Mhm.
So the 4 million, is that more profitable? That's the most profitable piece, the difference between the meal plan and the.
Yes. Mhm. Chris?
Is it okay if I ask a question and then make a quick comment?
Sure.
Vice President Collins, could you sort of give us an update as to the staffing and how that's going?
I'm going to get to that.
I'm gonna get to that.
Yep, that's in the handout.
And then my comment is, as you guys all know, I'm a student who actually uses dining services on a daily basis.
Mhm.
And, you know, Vice President Collins has gone to some of the challenges that they're facing.
Mhm.
I have to say, as a student and a consumer of the service, I would have had no idea that they were struggling with supply chain. I mean, the operation has been so seamless. And the quality of dining services this year is almost exactly what it was pre-COVID.
Mhm.
The mobile ordering features have been fantastic. Dining services and Vice President Collins have been so responsive to, you know, student feedback on
Thank you.
this. It's been a mind-blowingly successful operation, especially during the staff shortages. So definitely wanted to bring that perspective.
Thank you. I'll certainly share a little bit about staffing. I want to share also about our partnerships. It's important as the flagship research university in the state of Rhode Island that we partner with our local vendors, our local farms, you know, getting our produce, getting our fish, getting other things. So we have established partnerships with over 25 off-campus merchants, you know, Narragansett wraps, right? CVS, and other places where they can use the money that's on their RAM card, their ID card, in those places. 85% of our students utilize their RAM account, and you can see our cash deposits on the RAM account are right now averaging about $486,000. And then we charge a handling fee to the merchants. If they want our card swipe system, they want our students using their RAM account, we charge anywhere from 3% to 9%, depending on the contract with the merchant. We look to continue to expand that. The best example is we signed a contract a year ago with Grubhub, and now you can use your RAM account anywhere Grubhub is accepted in the country. So we're constantly being creative. We're constantly bringing new services, modernizing in terms of the work that we do. We take great pride in being the land grant, Sea Grant University. And we partner with our local vendors. Just some of them are here, including URI's own farms, the American Mussel Harvesters, local bakeries, Town Dock, Rock's Produce, Blount Soups. You got to have the coffee milk, right? Autocrat coffee. So this is something we take incredible pride in, that we're spending our monies in supporting the local economies, the local farmers to the best of our ability. This is a purposeful for us. We'll label things in the dining halls and other places when it is local, so you know where your food is coming from. And we think that's really important. There are touch screens in one of our dining halls. You can actually touch the screen and find out where your food came from. And that's important to our students today. That's important to our staff and to us as a community. So how we do all of this behind the scenes is an amazing dining distribution center staff. We signed in 2020 a prime vendor contract. This means we can contract with vendors to offer us the products that we frequently purchase. My first year here in 2016, believe it or not, we had to do a purchase order for every ingredient that we had in our dining halls. You would have seen a purchase order for everything from waffle mix to cereal. Everything had to be individually bid out. And it was so time consuming and staff consuming, not good efficiencies or effectiveness. So thank you to Vice President Ryder and her team and the work of Trained to See Angel and Cindy Mace and everyone. We approached the state and they gave us a pilot with a prime vendor contract. It's unbelievably successful. The quality of our food has improved. The just-in-time services of PFG getting food to us, and we contracted with them as part of the prime vendor contract to do training with our staff, work with our chefs on preparing more vegan meals and everything. So we're very pleased with this.
Assuming you had metrics and hurdles in the contract.
Of course.
So how are they doing?
Very well.
With that, with the whole supply chain?
Without them, Tom, I don't know what we would do. I mean, they will call us and let us know because, you know, we actually plan our recipes and our menus almost a year in advance. So we're now working on menus for next year because when you order cinnamon, you order cinnamon for the year. You order, those types of things. So they've been just absolutely wonderful and letting us know you order chicken breast, but we can get you chicken nuggets. Okay, our chefs know that. We change what we need to, and we kind of go forward. They've been great.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand. The meal plan, whatever we charge the students.
Yes.
We take the food costs and the expenses. That's a complete wash.
Yeah, we break even. We do have some monies left over in the end that we use for fund balance because dining is an auxiliary. They are responsible for their facility upkeep. They're responsible for building. Yeah.
Okay, but it's fully loaded. It's a wash.
It is. Yep. It's a wash. We do operate, again, a 10,000 square foot dedicated facility as a distribution, commissary, and we typically have on hand 1,800 housed food items. We always have on hand 3 days worth of food menu supplies in case of a weather or other type of emergency that we could operate. We know within 3 days. We also have a bake shop. Some of you have had the pleasure of, dining with us and having some of our bake shop. We produce over 3,000 items per day. Our team, amazing in the bake shop, comes in at 6 a.m. And works till about 2:30 p.m. So when our students are having their bakery items, we make many of these right on hand. That's an expectation of today's students. They don't want to know, where did you get it in the freezer? They want to really know kind of how and the food that we do. A quick breakdown so you can see catering. We serve the Kingston and the Bay campus. We certainly also work with the Ryan Center and the suites. Pre-COVID, we were doing 3,000 events a year, impacting approximately 170,000 people and an annual revenue for catering of about 1.25 million. So we focus on nutrition. We have a registered dietitian. We have 179 on-campus students with documented special needs around dietary, 8% increase in food allergies and sensitivities since 2019. And we've witnessed since 2019 a 12% increase in vegan and vegetarian food requests. People are paying attention to what they're eating, what they're putting in their bodies, really seeing kind of food as fuel. And how does that work? Now, chicken nuggets and fries are still the most popular. Don't worry, we still have those and hamburgers and everything, but you can see kind of the direction of where some things are going. Christopher, I thank you for your question about human resources. This has been a challenging 2 years in terms of our staffing. Pre-COVID, our dining operation worked with 190 classified and non-classified full-time staff, 30 part-time staff. Since COVID now, we're operating with 12 full-time vacancies and 15 part-time vacancies. These are critically important positions to our operation. 11% of our staff is specially trained in terms of the work that we do. Losing any one staff member can shut down a station and a dining hall. It can mean an event with catering. I appreciate today that you had Panera because our staff is stretched so thin in terms of the work that they're doing. We are advertising jobs. We are working with Council 94 and certainly Anne Marie Coleman and Human Resources. We're doing job fairs. We're going to local high schools. We're doing everything we can. This has been a tough go of it these last 2 years in terms of our full-time and part-time staff. But it's not as hard as our student staff labor shortage. We typically should have 415 student employees. We operated in the fall with 165 vacancies. We kept operations going. We did sometimes scale back.
Cut the hours?
We cut hours. We shut Butterfield Dining Hall a week early in December, which was quite upsetting to many of our parents and students. But this was what we needed to do. We have also exceptionally high turnover. Dining is not always a popular option where students want to work. It's just not. However,
You pay it for student.
I don't know right off the top of my hand. We just increased the minimum wage to Rhode Island, so we pay 15, I think. I'd have to look at that. I have a lot of things memorized, but not some things you're asking. So we'll certainly look at that. We do have an average turn.
It's a problem everywhere. But
Yeah.
are there any sort of non-economic benefits that we could offer that would make it attractive?
You know, I think there are some things, RA job becomes really popular because you get the room, right? I mean, some people will just be in a resident assistant because they can get the free room. All of our students who work in dining do get at least one free meal a day so that it's covered during one of their shifts. We're looking to see what, everyone from UMass to UConn to other places are doing. You may have even witnessed Michigan State this year had to engage faculty and staff in working in the dining halls to serve
It was
meals.
a popular decision.
It was not very popular at all. I think it made the international press.
Seen some universities give discounts on the meal plans.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right, instead of
Yeah.
food costs
Yep.
58%, you could give them a discount.
So
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Something.
Mhm.
Like, what do you get, tuition?
Yeah. Mhm.
Vice President Collins, could you clarify, so the Rhode Island minimum wage currently is $12.25.
Mhm.
So is that what we're paying our students, or do we have our own minimum wage? Because when I worked for the
Yep.
university, I got paid the state minimum wage.
Yeah, we pay the state minimum wage, which just went up this month.
Yeah,
And then we have progressive leadership opportunities from there because we actually do have management positions of students leading other students.
okay.
And we have a management training academy and all. But certainly we can look and explore and work with Vice President Ryder and others to see what options maybe we can, under state guidelines and do it appropriately. But I think there's some good ideas.
Because, in my mind, with all the restaurants in South Kingstown and
Yeah.
Narragansett being forced to pay more because of the labor shortage, I
Yeah.
would imagine it would make
Oh, yeah.
it harder to compete.
Yeah, We'll lose a student because they can make 15 cents, 20 cents more an hour at someplace off campus. So the reasons the students are certainly telling us, let me see here, if I can pull, yeah, they're leaving, taking an internship. I don't blame them for that. That's what they're here to do. Certainly, we know they're leaving for pay, as you've all seen, hours. Dining is nights, it's weekends, it's mornings. We're open till almost 11 p.m. now in Hope Dining. Students want to eat that now fourth meal, that second dinner, they call it, about 10, 11 o'clock at night. They found a higher paying job off campus, and we do require weekend work. So these are some of our struggles that we're certainly facing. So Pierre St. Germain and I and Human Resources are continuing to certainly to work on this. There's so many, the dining rates? Yeah, okay,
It's going from, right now it's 12.25.
Yep.
January
Mhm.
it steps up in
that's what I was thinking. So, do you want to repeat that, Abby, that people can, into the microphone? Do you have a?
the minimum wage went up to 12.25, January 1st, 2022.
Yep.
And it's going to increase $1. It's going to go to 13 in January of 23, 14 in 24, and 15 in 25 statewide.
We also know right now, the McDonald's in Wakefield is paying 17 an hour.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
you're probably not going to win on wages directly.
No,
But
no.
offering something that would be really,
Mhm. Yeah.
that only the
An incentive.
university could offer,
Yeah.
right? That
Mhm.
McDonald's could never offer.
Yeah. They appreciate your creativity, and we will see what we can do. So I think one of the things we do talk about is this learning outside the classroom. You know, students spend so much of their time outside of class. They're spending it with their friends that work, athletics and other things. So we really see student affairs in general, our jobs, positions, leadership opportunities, what we call a learning laboratory. Students are working in the dining halls on their communication skills with their peers and others. They're working on teamwork. Leadership and advancement opportunities are available in dining. We have a summer student management program. They can get TIP certification. We certainly cover those costs, and they can also be trained especially in terms of allergens. We also know in dining, you have to work on problem solving. Things always happen. Some of you may not be aware, and I certainly tried to keep it from President Parlange to the best of my ability, that Hope Dining Hall caught on fire this year during move-in. No one knew. Our team responded appropriately and wonderfully. We got it fixed, right, Abby?
Yep.
Yep. Shouldn't catch on fire again because I think that was the second year in a row. But that happens. That's a Tuesday in terms of how do we respond in terms of that. You work in a fast-paced environment, learning to stay calm, think on your feet, and deliver that excellent customer service. What employers would not want URI grads that had those skills? And that's what we know we can deliver, not only in dining, but certainly in student affairs. As you look at this, and I can break it down for you in terms of our strengths and our challenges, we have a committed, amazing, passionate staff. We have longstanding employees, a lot of expertise. Our ability when we brought in Pierre St. Germain, you know, coming down from RISD and his vast experience and his being certainly a professional chef, even out at Sundance. Our sustainability programs, again, eating local, our food waste. We also work very heavily on food insecurity issues. You're seeing the national numbers that as many as 30% of college students have not had a good meal in the last 30 days. Our dining program pays for a full-time professional that works at URI to address food insecurity. We work with Rhodey Outpost, which is our food pantry that I think all of you are familiar with. We're actually moving that down to the dining distribution center this year. And again, we went from a graduate student to a full-time employee because we're working with about 120 students a week right now facing food insecurity. Our challenges are high turnover of staff, difficult to attract and maintain qualified and diverse candidates, hard to put right person in the right job. We struggle sometimes with some of the union opportunities and challenges that they give us. In order for us to move, for example, a staff member or change hours, it can take our team in dining up to 6 months for everyone to rebid jobs. I'll say that again. It takes up to 6 months for us to be nimble and agile, which that is not at all, for us to decide to change dining halls, to shorten, change different hours unless it's an emergency, and do those types of things. Also, you know, as we work on the Council 94 contracts, where we can use so much of your assistance is our largest employer, dining and housing with Council 94 employees, are not ever involved in any of those contract negotiations. So the things that are agreed upon in those contracts, people don't always understand how it's impacting us in terms of the work that we do. The next screen has a lot of words that are really small, but you've all received a copy of that. I just wanted you to kind of see the big picture of the work that we do, kind of how we're headed in the direction that we're going. We know that evolution in dining is necessary. The perks students seek out when evaluating schools have really changed. Students now look beyond the numbers. They're looking beyond tuition and graduation rates and everything. They want to go where they see they're going to belong. And a lot of that is hanging out in the dining halls. So we know a community built through food plays a large role in the work that we do. So that's a brief overview of dining. I look forward in the future to talking about counseling services, health services, housing, and other areas across our division, and certainly am open to any questions that you may have.
Can I ask one more question?
It's your last meeting. You can,
I know.
Good job.
Yeah, what are you guys gonna do?
But I still wonder why I gave you my cell phone number.
I know.
I got to be honest about that.
So Vice President Collins,
Yeah.
have you heard anything further from Director St. Germain about our nighttime operations? I know that personally what I witnessed towards the end of the semester, which to clarify, I know was not your fault. You cannot control staffing at all. But Hope was very overwhelmed
It
the
was.
last few weeks with lines stretching out of the building and around the corner. That's something that I'm sure we'd all like to prevent. And I'm wondering if you guys have come up with any sort of plan or discussed that at all over J term.
Certainly, we know that some of the long lines are brought about when first and foremost, that was a time when we did holiday meals and other things that are much more popular. Lastly, I would share that we recognize when we had to close down Butterfield for lack of staffing, that pushed everyone into one dining hall. And that was quite stressful for people, and I understand that. Again, it takes staff to run each and every one of these operations. So having people available, trained professionals who can cook, who can clean, who can do those things, that is critically important to our operation. For us to get our staffing numbers back up will allow us to continue to advance with different services. Institutions across the country have gone so far as to, again, ask faculty and staff to work in the dining halls. Some of our peers in New England have for entire semesters closed dining halls. I want to say we can always do more, and our staff is stretched, and we continue to really, I think, deliver beyond even some people's expectations in these difficult times. But we're always thinking for different ways to do things. So I think more grab and go, Christopher, that's I get sushi, I get those types of things. We're looking at how do we operationalize more of the food truck? So those types of things. So we are working on it, but there's no silver bullet.
Yeah.
That's going to fix this.
I know you were planning on keeping Lansdowne open, and then
Yes.
it was supposed to happen, someone else quit and they couldn't.
Yes.
So I know you guys are struggling.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of redundancy in our staffing and dining. We don't have a deep bench, and that's something we need to work on.
Online ordering must help the staff
Yes.
shortage, right?
Yes.
So have we thought about incentivizing online ordering so that we can increase the percentage of that? Maybe it's 1 free with 10 or something. I don't know
Yeah.
the number, but the more you get, the less pressure we have on the staff. Right?
Do you mean online ordering on campus or off campus?
No, on campus.
Yeah, we certainly still, though, then need someone preparing the food that they've ordered, and that's where we're absent of staff.
So it's the back end of
It's the back end, it's back of house, like any restaurant.
Students in the back end.
In some dining facilities, yes, Ramsden and other places.
Okay.
Kathy, are there
Yes.
investments we can make to kind of automate further and reduce the labor component?
I think so. And one of the changes we'll have to be also considering is perhaps moving more away from student employees and increasing number of full-time employees. I think student employees are not as interested anymore, many in working in the dining facilities. So I think pathways to excellence, and do our employees who come into dining see that they can advance, that there's opportunities for them and their family to do well with a job working at URI Dining. And I think anything we can do in terms of really looking at the Council 94 contract, we worked very, very closely with them, but there is a lot of obstacles in that contract that kind of limit some of our success in terms of our ability to be nimble and agile.
Okay, any other questions from the committee?
Tom, I have one more question for Kathy. It's Mike.
Hi.
Kathy, food how do you measure it?
How do I measure what?
Food, you kept saying how important food is. How's the quality of the food? How do you guys ascertain that?
Certainly, we do satisfaction survey through NACUFS. NACUFS is the National Association of University and College Food Services, and we participate in their survey on a regular basis. And that is a satisfaction poll that tells us how we're doing in terms of quality of food, quantity of food, food options, and those types of things. And, you know, we do relatively well. I think we can do better. In many ways, in terms of some of that satisfaction. COVID really kind of knocked us back on our feet and the progression that we were starting to make, but that's some of the surveys that we use. We also, obviously, we monitor costs. You know, if we want to make a raise and pay our employees more, how much can I increase food plan? And still make it, you know, cost effective for people to attend URI. So those are the levers we have to think about. What do we want to pull? And how do we want to deliver in the future? So we have several KPIs, key performance indicators, that we use for dining. We look at food costs. Certainly we look at delivery. We look at, great question, but satisfaction is always important to us.
You know, one thing that occurred to me when you brought up the RAM account, which is great, I use mine all the time at off-campus locations. Do you think that we could find money in the budget? And I don't know if this would maybe alleviate our staff issues, but to sort of come up with a partnership with some of the businesses in the Emporium to use grab and goes there. I don't know how that would work or if we could go about paying for that, but do you think that might be something we could look into?
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful thing, Christopher, to think about. And we do, obviously, students, you know, the Emporium can be popular with some of the vendors that are up there. I wouldn't say, you know, getting back to Mike's question in terms of investments, we want students eating on campus. We want them here. It's easier to get to their classes. It's easier to be involved. It's easier to run to practice. We want students dining on campus. So for us, it's exploring, have we outgrown our existing footprints? It's looking what staffing that we have, and certainly, obviously, working with off-campus partners and vendors in terms of the work that we do. And we'll continue to do that. You know, sushi, who would have thought we do 50,000 rolls of sushi? But we do. I think there's more opportunity also, and as many of you know, when we renovate the Union and that ground floor becomes a food court, we need that yesterday. Yeah. So, great questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Next item on the agenda, we have 3 topics from Thor on addition of women's lacrosse, talk about the practice facility, and then our fall report cards, team report cards.
Great, thanks, Tom. Really going to focus on the first 2 topics that you mentioned. First and foremost is the addition of women's lacrosse, and it's something, the rationale behind that, which I think is really important for people to understand, is from a gender equity perspective, we have 56 to 57% of our undergraduate enrollment is female, which means that we need to provide participation opportunities in that same category, in that same percentage amount. And we have been probably in that 52 to 53% range for probably 20 years. And so Mark and I talked, President Parlant and I talked actually prior to his arrival to say, hey, if we can think a little bit differently, we have a great opportunity to add a sport rather than dropping a sport. If you've seen a lot of institutions over the last 2 years that have dropped sports, the negative pushback that they've received, plus they ultimately are bringing the sports back after lawsuits are filed, et cetera. We thought that there would really be a great opportunity for us at Rhode Island with the addition of the new Turf and Lights and Heat Stadium to add a sport. Women's lacrosse made the most sense for us. We put together a pro forma that we spent a lot of time on and really vetted through a lot of folks on campus to really say, okay, if we bring in, which is a private school thought process, which I know is not how we operate yet, it made sense to say, hey, look, if we bring in 35 new students when we start this program and get it up and running, They're not full scholarship kids. It's a roster of, anywhere from 32 to 35. We're allowed to give up to 12 scholarships to that group, which means they're coming in, they're paying tuition, they're paying for housing and dining, et cetera. So if we look at it that way, we put together a performer so that at the end of the day, over a 5-year period, adding a women's sport and meeting our gender equity obligation and responsibility will cost us about $350,000, $374,000 a net, which is really pretty amazing when you think about it.
What does that bring our percentage to?
We'll be right at 57%, which is spot on. And so we will no longer have any issues from a participation standpoint. That's how we're measuring our gender equity. That's the prong we use. We use the participation prong. And so we built the plan out that over the next, really by 26, 27, we'll be pretty much up and running, because you got to do it over time. You can't do it all at one time. We'll hire a coach this summer, let that coach get on board, hire a staff and start recruiting, bring a first class in which that class will redshirt, and it'll probably be about 10 kids, and we'll break out the scholarships and put it in over time. And then at the same time, we'll be adding certain members of support staff, because what we don't also want to do is bring in a whole new sport with 32 additional athletes, and then use the same, similar to what Kathy was talking about, stretching our trainers, academic support people, strength and conditioning folks in a way that doesn't provide the level of service that we need to in order to meet this responsibility. So at the end of the day, we feel great about what we're looking at. The A10 does sponsor women's lacrosse, so we fit right into that from a participation standpoint. From a recruiting standpoint, New England down into the Mid-Atlantic, it's a perfect spot for that. So we don't feel like we have to spend a great deal of money in terms of recruiting, and probably wouldn't have had this opportunity if we didn't have the turf and lights that were installed a couple years ago, because that's where we're going to play. It's obviously off season. It's a spring sport as opposed to a fall sport with football. So all in all, we feel really great about it. Like I said, the most important thing was really vetting these numbers, making sure that other folks in the campus felt good, that we were accurate. Abby's group took some time looking at that. Dean Labuti spent a lot of time to make sure that we met the discount rate. So not only were we looking at scholarships that we're going to offer, we also looked at some of these kids are going to come in with various financial aid because of need-based over and above their scholarship from athletics. So we feel really good about it. As I said, that's something that is an obligation. Every time I see that the equity report that comes out from the NCAA every year, and we're just not where we need to be, it's going to be a great feeling and a great show of the university to what I think is doing it the right way, adding opportunities rather than taking away male opportunities to meet our obligations. So I'm very excited about that. I wanted to share that information. Certainly can get into any more greater detail if anybody would like to talk further about it. We do have some, I think, very thorough spreadsheets that we provided or that we have put together that I can email to anybody so you can go through it. And I don't believe there's anything we've missed. We spent a lot of time really going through this and feel really good about it. So at the end of the day, I think we're going to be really better off.
Thor, I think it's great. 2 questions. How do you attract somebody to come to the school in that first class? Is it, as you said, is it more scholarships and then you don't have to do that over time? I'm just curious, like, how do you get somebody into that first class? And then secondly, does this, I'm sure you've thought about this, but how does this help us in terms of our demographics? Because you're probably, like, there are only certain regions of the US where there's women's lacrosse teams. So does it get us benefit from beyond gender diversity? Does it get us geographic diversity too?
That's a great question, Margot. Excuse me. I think in terms of recruiting, that's going to be a lot of pressure on that coach to find that first group. And it's certainly not going to necessarily come from our current club program, because they're club sport athletes for a reason. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. You know what I'm talking about, to try to find that Division I level kid. So you're going to have some students that want to come in and say, hey, we want to be some part of something special, building something. And that's takes some time, and that's a challenge at some parts early on. But I'm confident that in time we'll get there and be able to attract a very strong class. In terms of geography and demographics of where we're going to attract our students from, it really is going to be New England, Mid-Atlantic for the most part. And then what we can do, though, is when I think about some of our we just signed a women's softball player from Oregon. It all depends on the majors, because we have so many unique majors that we can attract some of these kids from. I think you know, we should be in a great place. A lot of these kids are playing prep school lacrosse. That's a big prep school sport. So when you think about, again, whether it's engineering, pharmacy, you know, any number of kinesiology, all these different programs that we offer, I think we have a really good opportunity to attract some really high quality students to be part of this. Yep. Any other questions with the lacrosse program? Again, some of the things we talked about, utilizing our existing assets, conference sponsorship, and the ability to compete for a championship within the A10, I think are all really important. You can see the timeline that we're putting out there. I feel really good about that. Again, the facility piece normally would be the biggest challenge, but because we have Mead, we're really in a great position there. And then it is also very important, and I'm very, very grateful to the folks, certainly to the president and others, about understanding the importance of adding some of these other positions. That is built into this pro forma. It's all part of these numbers, so that we're going to be able to provide not only our lacrosse programs with additional staff support, but they'll be working with other teams as well. The next thing I really wanted to spend time on is our practice facility. A lot of you have heard me talk about that, and a lot of you have been part of this. We're very excited about where we are. You can see that we have pledges on the books of 7.3 million. Of that, 6.2 million of cash has been received. It's actually, we've received another $100,000 in the last 2 weeks, so that's actually 6.3. The total projected cost is 7.9 for this project. And again, this is a renovation of West Gym, and it's also, if I go back, you can see this hallway on the left. That's really more of a recruiting hallway in the main, and what's out in front of the facility now. So it's been a big selling point for us already. It's been certainly very helpful from a recruiting perspective so far to be able to put these photos up there. Very, very grateful, and I can't emphasize this enough, to both the university and to the foundation for helping us with cash flow so that we're not waiting, so that we're able to move forward with this project in construction. We have to, again, we've talked to our donors, and although originally this was, they were allowed to make their pledges over 5 years. We've asked for to try to get some of those gifts up front sooner than that to help with cash flow. And for the most part, everybody's been very accommodating. So that's been great. And like I said, we still have to go out and raise another 600,000, which again, I'm also very confident. We've only got about 14 or 15 donors at part of this project right now. So that is not, there hasn't been a massive campaign about it. And this is certainly the largest fundraising initiative that we've ever done solo within athletics. And it's certainly a big missing piece of the puzzle. So timeline, really, really important. The project code approval did come back. That takes a little bit of time. I'm always amazed about that. But Ryan Carrillo, again, from Abbey Shop, and Steve Leonard, just been amazing to work with, really pushing this project forward. So we hope to have bids on the street, or excuse me, construction documents on the street shortly. Bids received back by the end of April. Construction starting in early summer, and it's about a year-long construction project.
Some more foul lines.
You need more foul. You've been waiting for that one, haven't you? I agree. But it's going to be a really terrific project, first class. So, but it's important for people to know, and I'll keep everybody in the loop on that. We do have another 600, but just under 600 grand that we have to raise. Very, very confident that we'll get there. But again, can't emphasize the appreciation from athletics to the university and to the foundation for the cash flow support so that we can get moving. Any questions on that facility? All right, and then the report cards, again, I don't need to go through each and every one of those. We had a pretty good fall, and certainly a lot of excitement. Football, having 7 wins, 1 game away from the playoffs, which would have been the first time in 35 years. Women's soccer making the A10 tournament for the first time in a while, and men's soccer having a great year, had a great year too. So I certainly can fill anybody in on that, but I don't need to go through each and every one of these. Both of men's and women's basketball programs, undefeated at home right now. We're one of 9 schools in the country that can say that. Everybody knock on the table, please. And but it's been going well, and very, very excited. We actually had our largest gift to women's basketball ever, $125,000. And that is going to help fund, not, it's exclusively going to fund charters for women's basketball, 125 a year for 5 years. So we're really excited about that. So.
Or are we getting less coverage in this local state paper on?
It's a great question. And they're not covering any sport till 2 days later. So we're getting some coverage, but we're not, like last night's game wouldn't be on the paper today. It's going to be in the paper tomorrow. And depending on what time we play. So like Saturday's men's basketball game at 12:30, that'll be in Sunday's paper. But a 7 o'clock start doesn't go in for 2 days. And it's really, I don't understand it. Providence College is in the same boat. So we're lucky that we're getting pretty good news coverage because at least the TVs are there. And they're getting us on the 11 o'clock news, but no, it's been a challenge. Bill Koch from the Providence Journal does a good job, at least online, social media wise, getting his stories out early, but it's not getting there quickly at all. And I think it's just because of their lack of staffing and et cetera. That's really gone down.
For one thing that, in terms of report cards, of course, I also think about the grades and their academic. And I don't know if you want to comment, because I saw, for example, you have men's golf. We did have the pleasure at 6 in the morning to present them with first time in New England, that they were 4 years, All-American, all academic.
We've had a lot of thank you, Mark. We've had so much, it's been a great celebration of academic success. Started again a couple, probably the last 5 years. This year, just this fall is no different. We'll have our final numbers that'll be able to share with everybody probably in the next week or so. But yeah, we had a golfer that was named to I think New England top academic golfer, and just across the board, we've been very successful. So we expect to be another 3.2 GPA, about 40% of our student athletes on the dean's list, as opposed to about 30, they're on some sort of academic probation. So very, very proud of that. And like I said, I can get you all those numbers. They should be in very shortly. So it's a lot of excitement for sure. And that's a great tribute to the academic advisors and to the kids. I mean, and their coaches are doing a great job bringing in great students. And obviously you can really see it when even some of the sports that have struggled academically, there's almost a level of now expectation. I see that with our men's basketball programs when those kids are making the dean's list now and walking around with,
People know that.
it's amazing.
There's a lot of money. The performance center.
Yep.
That weight room, and then we were going to do the tutors and tutors. So it sounds like it's working.
It's working. Yeah. And that's, when you think about that time frame from that point forward, and I can't emphasize enough, the folks that are working in academic advising that really not only spend time, and a lot of times, especially the at-need kids, micromanaging their academic calendars. They're really doing a great job planning for all of them, and it's a strength. It's certainly a point of pride.
Anybody have any questions for Thor?
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions from committee members? Okay, I have a motion to adjourn. For a second?
Second.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, gang.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
You know?